This is squeaky clean Casey King, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is Trouble Free Braden Lee, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
This is the one Shaun Moore. Hello, everybody, and you're listening to the Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the first audio experience on the web today, interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rove Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., alongside Scooter Dust.
My grandfather has the heart of a lion and a lifetime ban from the zoo.
And it is a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the one Shaun Moore.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
How are you?
I'm good. I was just talking to you guys before, saying just came from training, getting lots of training out here in Mexico. Life is good.
That's great. And what do you got coming up next?
I'll be wrestling this weekend for IWRG on Sunday and as well as Thursday. IWRG Lucha Libre. I've been wrestling in Arena Neza, Arena Lopez Mateos, and I am looking to go to Europe and the UK in September. So trying to set up some dates and stuff for that. But trying to be international, trying to be worldwide.
And where can we find you on social media and merchandise?
You can follow me at Shaun M Fit on Instagram. You can follow me at Shaun _Moore3 on Twitter. I gotta check my TikTok because I'm new to TikTok. Hang on a second here. Yeah. I'm good at wrestling, not social media.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. On TikTok, you can just follow me at Shaun Moore Wrestler, and then just follow and like on Facebook, and that's all my social media. And we are working on merchandise at the moment. I haven't had merchandise since like my first year of wrestling, so looking to probably set up something, hopefully put it on Pro Wrestling Tees, so it can get out to more people. And then yeah, I'll definitely keep everybody posted on that front.
Okay, and all of those links will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. When you do finally set up a Pro Wrestling Tees, the video will be updated.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, so let's get into it. You work for RCW and LPW. Can you tell us about your relationship with those companies?
There are two top promotions in Western Canada. Canada is a big country, big country, and it's kind of split into different areas. So, like, when you go to Toronto, like, the Ontario area, they have lots of promotions out there. I wrestle for Super Kicked out there is a promotion, but they have promotions like C4, Acclaimed, other places out there as well. Destiny Wrestling's out there too. Then you move, you get the Quebec area where there's a bunch of promotions in Quebec. You move to Manitoba, you have CWE, Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, PCW, Premier Championship Wrestling. You move to Saskatchewan where there's Ringside Wrestling, which is where I actually live, usually. And then Alberta where you have RCW, PWA, Love Pro Wrestling. Now Dungeon Wrestling with Blade Heart and Mojibari out there. Then you go to BC and you've got NEW, which just started up. There's WrestleCore Wrestling. So the wrestling scene is starting to boom in Canada.
It certainly is. It seems like a lot since the pandemic started a couple of years ago, more eyes were on the content that people were making in Canada.
Look, honestly, I think everybody's just got really hungry. Not that everybody wasn't hungry before, because everybody was grinding, but like, Canada, especially the wrestling scene, is very cut off from the rest of the world. So when the pandemic happened, and I mean, we're still kind of going through the pandemic, we got cut off for 2 years.
Right.
So we're literally sitting there, we're going, well, we can't get seen, we can't go anywhere, what can we do? And I think within that 2-year period across the country, everybody's kind of like banded together and trying to figure out like, okay, we need to try and make the Canadian scene kind of similar to how the UK scene was when it kind of blew up out of nowhere in like 2017 and stuff, and 2016, because we're all got really good, really hungry wrestlers, but we need to somehow get them promoted. And I think that's kind of what's been the genesis of the Canadian wrestling scene starting to boom.
All right. And Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, on our research, 2 things stuck out to me, and they're both similar while at the same time being very, very different. Your background is listed as you have a proficiency in the martial art known as Tang Soo Do, or Tang Soo Do, I apologize if I butchered that, and the German style of Ringen. So, could you explain those for those who may be unfamiliar?
I'm not sure where the German style one came from. I'd be interested to look at that research.
Ringen, going on from the definition, is literally German for grappling. So.
See, now you fooled me. Now I look like I don't know what I'm like. I can't speak multiple different languages.
Well, I
okay. All right. Yes. When I was for those of you who don't know, this is the first time you ever listened to the show. I was born in England, in the UK, and I lived there until I was 13 years old. In England, at the time, there was no wrestling scene and there was no amateur wrestling, and wrestling has been my favorite sport, favorite activity since before I could walk. So naturally, without wrestling, the first thing I did was go to martial arts. So I started that at 10 years old, and I got quite good at it and quite successful, and I was able to earn my black belt by the time I turned 11, and I had competed in tournaments across the UK. Grand national tournaments, national tournaments, open tournaments, and I was very successful. I won like a double gold medal at lots of tournaments, and that kind of gave me my athletic base. And then when I moved to Canada at 13, the first thing I signed up for in high school was amateur wrestling, and that was a very, very large and serious portion of my life from about 13 to 22. I wrestled in high school and university. In high school, I wrestled in lots of national wrestling tournaments. I became an alternate for Team Canada through the Team Canada Games trials. And then I wrestled in high school in the NAIA Nationals, where I got an All-American. And I placed third at that tournament. And then in university, I wrestled the NAIA Division II in the United States, as well as CIS in Canada. And that's kind of been my background before I got into pro wrestling.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question to that. You know, martial arts and amateur is very different from, pro wrestling. How did having those backgrounds help and hinder your wrestling career when you finally did get into the ring?
I can't honestly say there was a hindrance, because it prepared you athletically.
Right.
Like basic things like, again, when you're learning roles, conditioning, discipline, you learn that all doing, martial arts and wrestling. Competing at a high level and then getting into pro wrestling and being in high pressure situations, it's something you're not afraid of it. You're used to it. Being used to confrontation, being able to come up with a persona. it's a lot easier to feed for a persona when you've basically lived it before you started wrestling. I guess maybe a hindrance would be is like I didn't get to wrestle like half the UK guys did at 15 because I wrestled all the way until 22. So that's when I started my wrestling career. But this is something I would say to anybody who's an aspiring wrestler, especially if you're in high school. Join amateur wrestling. There is no way else to find out what it's like to be it. Like, let me put it this way: when you get into the mat in an amateur wrestling match, you literally have to walk onto the mat and stare at your opponent and sit there and know that for 6 minutes, me and you are going to scrap until somebody scores a point or somebody pins the person and wins the match. The psychology and the emotion that puts in your mind is fantastic when it comes to putting a match together, being able to know what to do in a ring when it comes to pro wrestling. And you experience that in real time in an amateur wrestling match. Same thing for martial arts. When you go in and you step in on the stage and you have to fight somebody, you know what it's like to be punched in the face. You know what it's like to be kicked. You know what it's like to have to come up with strategy. So then when you apply that to pro wrestling, you already have the logic because you've done that at that level beforehand. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, you're currently wrestling in Mexico. Can you tell us about competing in Mexico and that experience, and maybe adapting to this new stuff because Mexican style is very different from all the different other styles in the world. Maybe adapting to that style.
Yes. Mexico's been great. Like the scene is really starting to boom in Mexico as well. I mean, especially if you check out CMLL stuff and AAA. AAA just had that show in Monterrey, which was huge with Triple Mania, and then CMLL is either selling out or doing extremely well in Arena Mexico. They run like twice a week, and they're doing that every single week, which is fantastic. Lucha Libre is very interesting and very, very showman-like. I mean, again, if you watch PWG or any of the high-end indies, you see a lot of the high-flying and Lucha Libre experience. Now, I obviously have a grappling and a ground-based wrestling style.
Right.
So it's hard to adapt it to Lucha Libre because obviously everybody is expecting a lot of flips and a lot of hurricane ranas and a lot of head scissors and a lot of dives and stuff. And those are things that that I'm able to do and whatnot. But I think the grappling style stands out because no matter what style you wrestle, whether it's Japanese style, European style, catch style in Britain, showman style in the United States, Lucha Libre, wrestling and grappling is the core of every single one of those. So when you're able to use your grappling skills and it wows the crowd, they're amazed because at the end of the day, that's the core of wrestling. And I think being able to introduce, I do a move where I do a cartwheel flip and switch the guy into a powerbomb. So it's I'm able to change Lucha Libre and switch it into a wrestling move, or I do a cartwheel backflip into a German suplex. So it's now combining Lucha Libre with grappling style, with amateur style. So Mexico's been fantastic to helping me create a hybrid wrestling style, and that's what I call Shaun Moore's brand of pro wrestling. Everything, all my experiences from all across the world, I put them together, and that's creating my brand of wrestling.
That's awesome. So having, your style has really made you actually stick out in Mexico.
Yes.
All right. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Can you tell us the story of how you surprised a certain someone at their graduation?
Yes. So I'm not going to put obviously names on the public podcast, but it was in couple years back before the pandemic. A fan's mother came up and spoke to me, and son was a big fan, and he was a great kid. He actually started training with me and was wrestling a little bit, but he was wrestling in high school and playing football, which is fantastic. Like I said, if you ever want to be a pro wrestler, training and doing sports beforehand is the perfect setup to get into pro wrestling. But yeah, it was a good opportunity to sit there and surprise him, and it was really cool for me. And like I said, it's like I always imagined when I was a kid being able to have like a wrestler or somebody, come up and speak to me or help me out, or just acknowledge I was there. And the fact that I was able to give that back to somebody is actually one of the proudest things I've ever been able to do in my life. And I thought it was a really cool moment, and I was happy how everything went down.
All right. Just for you and all listeners, Scooter had to step away for a moment, but we do expect him back in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Now you won a tournament to become the first ever North American champion. Can you tell us about the experience of competing in that tournament and what it meant to you to become the first ever North American champion for, I believe it was RCW?
Yes. I was on point, and I was fired up going into that tournament. Everything just started to open up. I had just came from the New Japan Dojo in 2020, and I was kind of just like, what's next for me? And then that tournament took place in RCW for the North American Championship, and that's a legendary title in Western Canada. Bret Hart and the top wrestlers of the Western Canadian scene during Stampede Wrestling all held that belt back in the day. So that was a huge opportunity for me to be able to have myself swimming around those names in our area. So like I said, I was fired up and ready to go, and the tournament was grueling, but again, it's about Shaun Moore's brand of pro wrestling, and I was able to get through it, win the tournament, and become the first ever RCW North American champion. Something that I'm very proud of.
How do you approach going into a tournament, which is obviously multiple matches in one night, rather than one match and you're done?
Cardio. That's the main focus. At the end of the day, wrestling is wrestling. So each time you have a match, you've got one goal in mind: to win. So you're gonna do whatever it takes to win. But the main thing is you have to be prepared that if the match goes longer, or if it's a super fast-paced match, are you ready and can you handle it? So for me, being prepared cardio-wise was the main thing for the tournament, and that was what was able to help me succeed.
All right. Now, you mentioned that you had the opportunity to train at the Dojo with Shibata. What was that experience like? And just tell us, how did that even come about?
So it came about. I had been going to New Japan camps for a couple of years before that, and different camps all across North America. So I had met Gato and Rocky Romero at different places. So it was basically just going to camps and a lot of hard work and training. And I got accepted into the dojo in 2020. I had the opportunity to train down there. Every time I come on a podcast, I tell people about the fact that anybody that comes through the dojo system are the toughest people in pro wrestling. It's the hardest training in pro wrestling that you'll ever experience.
Oh, yeah.
Shibata only wants to attach his name to the best. So in order to be able to have your name attached to it, you have to be able to perform that way. So it's just being mentally and physically ready. And again, the training there was able to completely shift my style and influence and give me the intensity I needed in the ring that you are able to see, especially in all my recent matches from 2021 and onwards. And that's all from spending time and training at the LA Dojo.
Yeah, we not too long ago we had somebody that had a tryout there, and we interviewed him the day after, and he literally could not talk. His voice was completely shot, and he was like, I apologize. I sound terrible, but yesterday. I was screaming the whole long way.
Yeah, yeah. Like I say, it's intense. Like, it. You got to be prepared if you're gonna go there. Like, again, it's definitely not a walk-on job. Like, you have to be in the best shape you could possibly be and be ready to go to be in that environment.
Was there any, obviously Shibata speaks Japanese. Was there any language barrier that kind of between you two, or does the wrestling kind of speak for itself?
The wrestling definitely speaks for itself, and again, like it's even like in Mexico now. I'm not great at it yet, but I'm learning how to speak Spanish, learning how to speak Japanese. Um, Again, being able to sit there and being immersed in each one of those cultures. You don't want to just be that person that just shows up and wrestle and isn't really immersing themselves in every bit of it. So it's the same thing when I was at the dojo as I'm doing here in Mexico. I'm trying to learn the language, trying to get better at speaking it. So that way, again, you're universal. Like, being able to speak multiple languages is super helpful. Like, look at this interview. I had no idea what he meant in German. And so, that's why you want to be able to speak multiple languages so that you could be good to go for situations like that.
Is there any piece of advice that Shibata gave you that really sticks out to you that you implement in either wrestling or in life?
I guess the biggest one would probably be, it doesn't matter what you do in the ring. You have to give it your all. It's that Japanese notion of fighting spirit. Like, you could go and pass out after the match and not be able to walk. But for those 15, 20 minutes that you're in the ring, you need to make sure that you give every little bit of heart, every little bit of passion, every little bit of desire you have to have the best match possible and to prove that you're the best in the ring. So that's probably the biggest thing I've learned from him.
All right. And Scooter has returned to us.
Now, in going over your the clips of your matches, something stood out to me. You did a coast to coast with not only an injured leg, but from the angle we see, it looks like he was in a cast. It's insane, and some can't even do it, even if they had 3 legs and a trampoline to help them. Can you tell us the story behind that, and did it lead to further injury?
Well, again, we had been embroiled in a big-time rivalry at that point, and my leg got injured. I think you're referring to the tag team situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, with the World-Class Renegades of Ace Riviera. And it was like, I need to come out and help my partner. So it was like, we need to do something to take them out. And it's coast to coast. There's nothing better than a coast to coast. And this is what I was talking about earlier in the interview, when you guys was like, does training from amateur and martial arts help? And it's like, absolutely, because without that type of training, you're not able to do those athletic feats. And yes, it was painful as hell afterwards because you're jumping off one foot and then landing, and you're like, it's a lot of pain, but it was absolutely worth it.
Honestly, unbelievable. And I mean, in my time, in the ring, hip tosses scared me. But seriously, though, big ups on that.
Thank you very much.
You had a tryout for Impact Wrestling.
Mm.
Can you tell us about how that came about and what was that experience like?
That came about. So I was wrestling around, obviously, I think 2017 that was, and they had just. Is that when the Anthem deal started? I can't remember, but they had contacted. There was a bunch of Canadian wrestlers had the opportunity to go do this tryout. So it was a mixed tryout with them and Pro Wrestling Noah. So they had Scott D'Amore and Johnny Devine down there at the time representing Impact, and then Mara Fuji was representing Noah. Yeah, it was a great experience because that up until that point, that was probably the biggest tryout opportunity that I had. So to be able to experience kind of what we needed to do, like with the promos, matches wise, was great, and it was good for my experience building for when I would have those opportunities later with like New Japan and ROH and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Like definitely at that point, I wasn't ready at that point. But like I said, that's good, and that's again another piece of advice I give for people. The only way you're going to be able to find out about this stuff or get these experiences is if you do them. So anytime there's an opportunity that comes up, take it because you never know, right? And either something might come from it, or you might be it might be what you needed to help you get to that next level. So every time I go to one of those camps or tryouts, I use them as a building block or a learning opportunity to get better in the ring. And then, if it doesn't work out for you, there's something that Steve Corino told me. No, there's never a no in pro wrestling. It's not no, it just means not right now. So you just have to keep grinding. So that's another piece of advice for people.
But what does that kind of do for your confidence to know that, I got to a tryout with Impact Wrestling. It might not be right now, but that option is can be down the line for me.
I mean, you can only think about it positively, right? Like that's the biggest thing. And again, it's very hard. Like when you put it in, obviously in a real life sense, it's difficult. Like you're grinding, you're traveling, you're away from home, you're working hard. A lot of us, again, working other jobs at the same time whilst we're trying to do it. So it's a lot of on the case mentally. But again, you always have to take it at the fact is like, I just got better coming back from this. And another opportunity is going to come from this. I just have to keep grinding. I have to keep pushing. And yeah, you have to think positively.
All right. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, I don't know if James has mentioned this, but I am a native New Yorker, born, bred, lived my entire life here so far, and I spent a number of years performing.
And never going to Alabama.
Never going to Alabama. I spent a number of years performing about 8 blocks away from the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden, and MSG is one of your dream venues. And I believe you also listed Wembley Stadium. And the other two are escaping me at the moment. But
one of them I've already got to perform in was the Saddle Dome in Calgary.
Yes.
Yes, that's the big arena for us in Calgary. It's where the Calgary Flames do their games. When WWE does pay-per-views or Raws, they have it there. So we, with PWA, were able to do a show in the Saddle Dome, which with the Calgary Hitmen, which is Bret Hart's hockey team in Calgary. So that experience was cool. And then Arena Mexico is the other one, which is I'm trying to push for right now here in Mexico. Yeah.
So what other venues, since you made that list of those 4, are you hoping to perform in the future?
Well, obviously the Tokyo Dome.
Oh yeah.
Kirk and Hall, in Japan and stuff. Like again, any world famous arena. It's cool that you lived in New York because that you're from New York because I lived in New York actually before I started pro wrestling. I spent an entire summer living there. I was in Long Island in Huntington.
Yeah, I was born in Long Island.
Okay, I lived there, so I continue. Yeah.
I drop this every time somebody says Long Island. I was born in the same hospital as Chris Jericho.
Oh, okay. Unfortunately, Nassau Coliseum's not open anymore, so that was another one as well. Because
yes, Uniondale. It's not exactly the Nassau Coliseum, but it's still there in spirit. In fact, SmackDown was there last week, as of this recording. May 6th, I should say, which I actually just saw a commercial for it, which is weird. So, as you were saying, Tokyo Dome, Long Island National Coliseum, any other, like, let's even go past, indoor arenas, like sports stadiums, or anything of that ilk.
Well, I mean, like, again, like, imagine if wrestling, like, I don't know if anybody here is a soccer or football fan, but like, you think of the big stadiums and stuff they have in Europe, like where Real Madrid and Barcelona and those places play. You imagine a wrestling show there. Back home where I live in Saskatchewan, we have a really popular Canadian football team called the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and Mosaic Stadium's the big stadium that we have, and any dream for anybody from Saskatchewan would be, firstly, to be able to sell out Mosaic Stadium and to be able to get a show like wrestling to be there. So you know that if you're able to sell out Mosaic Stadium in Regina, Saskatchewan, in the middle of nowhere, Canada, not only will the fans be absolutely rabid for you and for that show, you would have been a successful pro wrestler to be able to get a show to take place in Mosaic Stadium.
All right. Very, very, very nice.
Some of the best talent come from parts unknown Canada.
Yeah. Again, like just to like talk about that, like, again, it's so difficult to branch out as a Canadian wrestler. So that's why I believe that majority of the time when a wrestler from Canada manages to break out into one of those big promotions, they're typically very good because of all the trials and tribulations that they had to go through in order to get there. You know what I mean?
It's really, it's odd because America is literally connected to Canada, but we get more imports from UK and Mexico and other countries than we actually do Canada. When it comes
Yes.
to
Part of that too is, again, just the visa situation, the visa laws.
Right.
Coming Canada to the US, they're not. Let's just say they're not very nice to us coming into the United States.
Yes.
Versus other places, it's a lot nicer to get into the United States. So that obviously makes it difficult when, especially in terms of English-speaking pro wrestling, the majority of English-speaking pro wrestling exists in America. They have, again, the big two promotions, WWE and AEW, and then they have Impact, ROH, MLW, PWG, and then every single top indie that all take place in the US. So it makes it very difficult when it's hard to get into the country because, like, those are the places you kind of need to wrestle to be seen so you can get picked up to another place. So it's like, again, you kind of have to now travel the world, not only just for experience, but to try and get exposure so that you can entice or have people in those promotions be like, you know what? We need this person. We don't have this. And the only way we can get this type of thing is through this person from, Canada or whatever.
Right. Now, speaking of AEW, you competed against Shawn Spears when he just signed with AEW. Could you tell us about that match and that experience?
We actually had two matches with each other, one in Calgary, one in Edmonton, and it was a great experience. Again, obviously, Shawn Spears is very good. His resume, his wrestling body of work speaks for itself, and it was a very, very good match for me because it was an opportunity for myself to be in the ring with a person that had been on the highest stage, and to be able to see kind of how I fit in. How did I look against him? How was I able to perform against him? How was I able to wrestle against him? How was I able to work with the crowd against him? And speaking with him and having that experience, gave me huge amounts of confidence. Huge amounts of confidence. I was like, I can do this, and I definitely attribute those two matches to being big confidence builders in my wrestling career.
That's very interesting. You said, "How do I look against him?" That's definitely not something I've heard doing interviews before. But that is
Well, again, like,
no. Continue. Continue.
sorry not to cut you off, but it's one of those situations where it's like, you know, I have high ambition. I'm a very ambitious person, and I want to make it to the top of whatever I've chosen to pursue, and that's pro wrestling. And I don't want to, if I'm in the ring with Shawn Spears or Randy Orton or Kenny Omega or Bryan Danielson or Tanahashi or Marufuji or whoever you put it, I don't want to look out of place.
Yes.
Like, if I'm in the ring with them, whether it's physically, psychologically wise, wrestling skill wise, I want to be at the top of my game. So I need to know what it's going to look like against them if I'm on TV, because if I'm going to make it to the top of profession, I have to either look at their level or be higher, and that's obviously the goal, is to be higher and to be able to wrestle him. And you know, it's on YouTube and there's all that stuff, and to not look out of place means it's like you're heading in the right direction. That's exactly where you want to be as a wrestler.
I love that answer.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you were actually in one of those matches. You were PWA Commonwealth Champion, and for 413 days, the longest anybody had held that title. What did it mean to you to hold that title for so long and be trusted with it?
That was validation for me. Again, like I said, is I have high ambition, and I wanted to prove that my style and me as a wrestler was as good as I can be. So to be able to be champion for 400 days and constant defenses on every single show that PWA had, and then to go to other shows and people announce it that you were formerly PWA Commonwealth champion. It's the same thing like here in Mexico for High Impact Wrestling. I was the grand champion at the same time, and they still mention it on, you know, broadcasts on television here in Mexico. And it's like, that again is building to my brand and building to the legacy I'm trying to create in pro wrestling. So it's like, to be able to hold any championship for that length of time, people then go, this guy means business. This guy's legit. And that's exactly what I'm trying to portray.
Perfect. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Oh, I did forget to mention that when you are back in New York and you get to Madison Square Garden, I'm gonna take you out for a night on the town because you gotta celebrate a New York moment in New York style.
Yes,
So,
yes.
but shifting the focus a little bit south, there is an interesting picture of you in front of the Rocky Balboa statue in Philadelphia. Is there a story behind that?
I was at an ROH tryout at that time when I took the picture of the Rocky Balboa statue. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of all the Rocky films, so when I was there, I was like, well, I have to visit this this area and take a picture over there. So that's why I was in Philadelphia at that time. I was doing that, and then that led to me doing extra work and doing some matches and stuff for ROH. So again, that whole trip was a really cool experience.
All right. Let's
Don't forget the Burger King question.
I'm gonna Burger King your face, James. Let's bring a little levity here. Can Lance Storm not be serious for a minute?
If you have a sarcastic sense of humor, then Lance Storm is not serious for a minute.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I just had to ask.
Yeah.
Continue.
No, go ahead, James.
Oh, if you had something to say, say.
I was gonna transition into a food related question, but I don't know if you're so
Alright, well, let's ask the colossal question, and then we could get into some food.
okay.
It is now time for Kaliko's colossal question, not including Kaliko this week. They're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What three songs would be on the Shaun Moore wrestling soundtrack up to this point?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I needed preparation for this question. I don't know if you guys play video games, but I literally made a post like a couple weeks back about like a sound ultimate soundtrack. So I'm like, there's so many like songs. Oh man.
We're huge gamers, so
Yes.
we are huge gamers.
Yeah. Oh man. Solely for like a I always would have wanted. There's a song called "South Down" by POD. That
Man, oh god, that takes me. I am dating myself here. Good god, I was a teen when that. Oh man,
that would be my like come up training montage portion of that movie of my career. I've made a tweet about it, and I said that eventually, whenever I win the world championship in the big promotion, play "Touch the Sky" by Kanye West to end it off, because that's that's the ultimate dream for me being a kid and then coming up. So I guess that would be song 2, and then this may change, but I guess in right now, a song that has a very special place in my heart. I don't know. Anytime I've ever been in a bad situation in life, or like a realization situation, "Crawling," the Reanimation version by Linkin Park, is played, and it has such. Most of the song is more melody than is the actual like lyric from "Crawling," and again, I think like post-credit scene, that song playing, and I've talked about it before in other podcasts and stuff. In high school and beginning of university, I had quite a bit of depression, and Linkin Park like got me through that. Like I've always said, if there was ever a band that I ever got a tattoo of on my body, it would be Linkin Park. So, "Crawling," the Reanimation version, would probably be the third one.
And just to quickly follow up, we did an interview a number of days ago where somebody also mentioned Linkin Park, not only for the last song, but in the same circumstances. Their chosen song was "Shadow of the Day," but I just find that very interesting and very inspiring in that connection to music.
Yeah, music's a huge part. Like I said, like I was the kid, and in high school I had my Walkman, and then I had my MP3 player, and then my iPod eventually, right? Huh?
How old are you, Walkman?
Okay, I'm 30, but like in high school, like I get at the time before I could get my parents are Caribbean, so you got everything. So before I could get my MP3 player, I had my Walkman. So I had it's funny. One of my first albums was "Get Rich or Die Trying" by 50 Cent. I had my burned CDs from LimeWire, which I ruined like 3 different on my parents' laptops trying to download stuff to put on those CDs. I had my first Slipknot album, which I burnt from LimeWire for the first time that I listened to in high school. Yeah, man, like music is everything. Like I said, like I think that's a big connection with me in video games was the soundtracks, like especially the wrestling games growing up. Like I still listen to those songs to this day. I don't know if you guys are Xbox players, but like there's a game called Jet Set Radio Future that was on Xbox.
It was on Dreamcast first, I believe.
Yes. The one console I've never had in my life that I wanted when I was a kid and my parents weren't able to get it. And I've always said to myself is like, when I'm fully done and retired, I'm going to buy a Dreamcast with every game and just go through the whole system and relive what my 9-year-old self wanted to do at that point.
I had 2 Dreamcasts. I went through 2 of them.
Oh, man.
You know, I can honestly say I've played literally every single console except Dreamcast. So you're not alone, Dale.
Yeah, it's like I said, I played like Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis, but no Dreamcast.
Right.
Oh, James, there were so many video games around before you were born.
And I played quite a few of them.
The Magnavox Odyssey, which I still have in box under my bed.
Oh, how did I forget Coleco?
Oh, see, this is going to end up turning into a video game podcast eventually.
I don't think anybody played ColecoVision. Alright, you have 3 incredible songs right there. Do you lock it in?
For now, yes, but I'll definitely say that they could definitely change depending on mood, time of day, or any other life circumstance.
And you could actually...
Besides Southdown and Touch the Sky, I think those 2 would definitely be in there.
And you could absolutely message me, and I could always interchange them and put it in the description.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Because that has happened before.
Yes, you are one of the few guests who have actually reserved the right ahead of time to change their songs in the future.
That's good.
Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, I ask 2 specific Canada exclusive questions for our guests who are either from Canada or currently in Canada. The first one, and I'm not sure if you eat this at least on a regular basis, because this is clearly a cheat day food. Where's the best poutine you've ever had? And if you don't eat it, where has someone told you that has Canada's best poutine?
Oh man. I don't eat poutine. I'm British, so poutine weirds me out. Like I've lived in Canada a long time, but it was one of the foods that I was like, I can't get used to this. I want to say, I can't remember the name of the place, but I think when I was living in Toronto, there was a place that had like loaded poutines. Like it was like anything you could think of, you'd add to a poutine, and it was like people absolutely loved it. And I almost tried a poutine at that place. So it was like good enough that I was like, I might try this. Like I'm not really a cheese guy, so then adding cheese on fries isn't my thing. But I was like, almost tried it. And actually, no, there's a place in Winnipeg. It's a nightclub and a video game like arcade place at the same time with a poutine store in it. But again, the name is escaping me, but the place is really cool. So it's like you literally go and there's a nightclub in the middle of the floor, and then like on the surrounding balconies, they had like Xbox Ones and PS4s that people were playing at the same time. It was a really
that's gotta be
atmosphere. Yeah.
That's gotta be Smokes. That's gotta be Smokes poutineery.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you might be right. I can't remember the name. I've been there like once or twice after some shows there, and I remember they had like it was like a ground beef one, like a burger, like hamburger one, and I think I tried a little bit. It wasn't bad, but like I said, I'm not much of a poutine person, so yeah, I'm not helpful on what's the best poutine to get.
Well, I was debating on whether or not I should, bring up, stuff like spotted dick and bobbles and squeak. But I do love Java cakes.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
so good.
yeah.
Oh, I can't get enough of them. It's one of the few things they sell in the foreign foods aisle at my supermarket. Uh, now, now I'm not sure if you can give a unbiased answer to this question. Do you think Ryan Reynolds is Canada's greatest national treasure? And if not, who is?
Bret Hart's Canada's greatest national treasure.
There you go.
Ryan Reynolds is incredible, and we obviously hold Ryan Reynolds in high regard, and he gave us Deadpool 1 and 2, which is fantastic. But I've seen it firsthand. Like, Bret Hart can go anywhere, and everyone recognizes him, and everyone will talk to him. And everyone knows of Bret Hart in Canada, and I mean, obviously worldwide too. But and especially in the sense of his wrestling, yeah, I gotta say our national hero is Bret Hart.
Well, yeah, Bret Hart, a name certainly to be looking for on the way up. I'm sure he'll do great things in the future.
Well, you mentioned that you're more UK. You grew up in the UK, so here are two UK exclusive questions:
Okay.
KFC or Nando's?
Oh man. Geez, that's hard because they both have a special place in my heart. So it's funny because so with Nando's, before I moved to Canada, I used to live in a place called Milton Keynes. There was only one at the time in Milton Keynes, and it was very low key place in England. And then I moved to Canada. That was in 2005, and then 3-4 years later, Nando's are everywhere in the UK. So Nando's used to be people used to dress up really nice to go to Nando's when I was in England, versus now you just grab takeout and go and eat it whenever. So they just introduced Nando's to Calgary and Edmonton, I want to say 7 years ago or so. So we have, I think, 2 in Calgary and 2 in Edmonton and 1 in Calgary. And then KFC is phenomenal no matter where you go. I've now had KFC in multiple different countries. And I used to work at KFC when I was in high school as well. So that's why I said it's hard, because I've had great experiences with both of these places. So I can't pick one or the other because they both scratch different needs. I guess KFC is just more easier access than Nando's is. But yeah, both fantastic food places.
Considering that there are more Nando's in America.
Yeah.
And the second question that is UK exclusive: did Patrick Stewart deserve to be knighted?
But I mean, it depends on how big of a comic book fan you are. I mean, he's incredible as Professor Xavier. I guess in terms of stuff he's done, maybe not in real life sense, but in terms of his body of work, incredible. And then what an amazing human being is Patrick Stewart. So I guess yes.
All right, fair enough. Scooter, you have a question?
Let's see, do I have any more questions? Yes. Now, there are 2 superstars that, at least to me, stand out as a major influence for you. One is Ultimo Dragon, and the other is Hayabusa. I know it seems like you're attempting to obtain Ultimo Dragon's record of holding 9 championships. at the same
All the
time.
time.
And and Hayabusa is just a legend regardless. How much have those two specifically influenced your in-ring performance?
Funnily enough, I really don't use any of their moves. There's a time like I throw an elbow drop like the Great Sasuke. It's more so the outside presence that I use from them. Like again, look at Ultimo Dragon and his background in Lucha Libre and coming to Mexico. Like again, when I was a kid and I saw Ultimo Dragon, he had such a swagger to him that was so cool to me without having to say much, as well as like again having all those championships, and you were like again, it's like the belt collector thing for Kenny Omega. Like, who doesn't want to do that in wrestling, right? Like, so it influences kind of like your mindset of what you want to achieve, and like, I guess from Hayabusa is his innovativeness, like I was saying with like that cartwheel German suplex, or the round off into a gut wrench power bomb, or when I hit a 450 splash, I don't hit a 450 splash in the corner. I hit a 450 splash in the center of the ring. So it's like when Hayabusa whipped out the shooting star press and other moves like that. It's like, I guess that's where the influence is. Like, if I'm going to be like these two, I need to up my game, or like, use their personas. My more so in-ring influences are Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle. I mean, again, Kurt Angle for obvious reasons from the amateur background and stuff. But Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle were not only phenomenal wrestlers, crisp technicians, smooth in the ring, super athletic, but were amazing entertainers and characters at the same time. And that's something that I want to be able to accomplish in the ring as well. Like, Kurt Angle could go from making you bust a gut laughing to 2 seconds later having you go, this is the baddest man on the planet. And it's like, that's the range I want to be able to have whilst I'm in the ring.
All right.
So, Iron Man can't beat Batman?
Say that one again?
So, Iron Man can't beat Batman?
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Well, you have to explain your answer. Why
It's simple. It's simple. It's as simple as this. If Iron Man and Batman have the same level of intelligence, the same level of money, the same access to team members, Batman's a ninja and Iron Man's Elon Musk. I'm gonna take a ninja in a fight over Elon Musk.
But
Right.
I mean, he has like lasers that come out of his hands, and that's the suit that protects him.
Yeah, but it's escaping my mind right now. But I mean, it's like Batman with a Darkseid suit, or Batman with a suit that can fight Superman, or Batman with any other type of suit that's allowed him to fight any other various villain or superhero in DC. Like, he could do the exact same stuff as Iron Man, but Iron Man can't fight, and Batman is literally a master of physical fighting. I always say the Batman Captain America fight is a much more interesting and closer fight, or a Batman and Black Panther fight is, than a Batman and Iron Man fight. Because
I definitely agree with you there, because it has to do with which version of Iron Man are we talking, and which version of Batman we're talking about. Because if you interchange them, it could be a very different fight.
Yes, and like I said, that's why I go on like general basis. That's why I'm like, in a general fight situation, it's like I said, it's like when it comes down to it, if they're beating each other, they have the best suits and everything strips down, then they're like left to hand-to-hand combat. And then hand-to-hand combat, Tony Stark can't beat Bruce Wayne in hand-to-hand combat. That's how I always like put it down, because you could sit there and go, okay, who's going to win a fight, Superman or Squirrel Girl? You pick the right comic, Squirrel Girl will beat Superman. But in terms of like a generalized situation, Superman takes that fight. Whereas it's like, again, Superman versus Hulk, you're like, that's a very interesting fight. And like, I actually would take Hulk, which might surprise people, but I'm like, Hulk absorbs people's damage. Hulk gets better and gets used to different things, like to when he's fighting somebody. And eventually, because neither of them can really die, Hulk will eventually just outlast Superman, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But like, for me, when it comes to those fights, it's like, don't put people who are hand-to-hand fighters against people that aren't hand-to-hand fighters, because unless they have something like a special power that will completely negate that, then it gets really hard. Like I said, like Captain America and Batman's a much more closer fight, because Batman would pretty much have to kill Captain America, but Batman doesn't kill anybody, and Captain America doesn't give up. So now you're like, it's not just a physical fight, but it's a psychological fight, which makes it super interesting.
I've got 3 potential matchups in my head, and I want you to tell me the winners. First,
Okay.
Deadpool versus Green Lantern.
See, Deadpool's a hard one, and I never put Deadpool in a fight with anybody, because literally Deadpool could basically beat anybody, but he's such a like satirical character that it's like, it's not fair. Like, it's almost within the joke of Deadpool that he can beat anybody. So I never put Deadpool in a versus fight, because it's like, Deadpool's such a freaking troll.
And he
So,
can't
like,
die as well.
Sorry?
He can't die as well. He's immortal.
Yes, and that's what I mean. It's like, it's one of the situations where it's just like,
Right.
somebody could beat Deadpool like Kingdom Come, but realistically, eventually Deadpool will be able to defeat them. And it's like the whole One Punch Man thing. It's like, because of the way the character is written, realistically he'll beat everybody, but like, it's not a really fair versus fight. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, number 2.
And I'm hoping you see where I'm going with this. Captain America versus Johnny Storm of the Fantastic Four.
Next, you're gonna add in his character from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
No, Lucas Lee can't do a thingy off the rail, so.
Cap. I'll go with Cap. Cap's a way better tactical fighter than Johnny Storm is.
Okay. And then, in fact, another one popped into my head before I'm going to ask about the main event. For the hell of it, Thanos versus Cable.
Thanos, but I actually thought you were going to do Daredevil versus Batman, was where I thought you were going to go with the next one.
No, and the last one, whenever I've used them in games like Fire Pro Wrestling World or any of the 2K games where I've put superheroes in, I've always made them a tag team. But Hulk versus the Thing.
Hulk wins that fight. The Thing's awesome, but Hulk wins that fight. I think the Thing is very underrated character in Marvel, actually, and I'm hoping that when they do this new Fantastic Four movie, that they really do him justice, because he is a ton of fun in the comic books, and you never really get to see that. Like in the old versions that came out in like 2003-ish, like he was great. Ben Grimm is fantastic, and like that's definitely somebody that I want to see like done really well and get his justice.
I actually have my Marvel encyclopedia, the year-by-year visual history, in front of me. So that tells you immediately how much of a fan I am. James is also huge.
I've always been more of a DC guy, though.
Yeah, I'm a Mac. He's a DC.
I mean, they're both exceptional. Like again, like the best. Like I said, now if you end up bringing Star Wars, we're gonna be in this for forever.
Oh no!
Okay.
Yeah, if we
go
bring Star
forever.
Wars, we're not going anywhere.
Let's get into it. Love of Star Wars. Tell us about it.
Star Wars is my favorite IP outside of wrestling. It was like, how do I describe it? Like, my earliest memory of Star Wars as a child was Darth Maul, obviously.
Yeah.
Seeing that for the first time, watching The Phantom Menace was like life changing. Like, again, my favorite character in Star Wars ever is Boba Fett. Notwithstanding this TV show that came out, like, it was good, but wasn't the happiest thing as a Boba Fett fan. But like, I clearly like the strong, silent, kind of bad guy type.
Yeah.
So Darth Maul, Boba Fett was fantastic.
Cad Bane.
Then as I got older, I played my favorite video game of all time, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which was, again, life-changing. And then, like, anybody who knows me in wrestling, I drive lots. Like, going from Saskatchewan to Calgary is an 8-hour drive. And I listen to Star Wars audiobooks. So my favorite Sith Lord is Darth Bane. And I, like, read the EU comics. And like I said, yeah, Star Wars is like a huge part of my life. And a lot of people don't expect it or realize it, but like, yeah, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
It's funny you mentioned Darth Maul because I literally have the replica Darth Maul lightsaber in my room right now.
Oh, that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, like, him when he did that fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon on Naboo, and he brought out his lightsaber, and then the second one came out. Like, as a kid, I was just like, I was mind blown. I was like, you can have 2 lightsabers, it was just, and then, like, again, he incorporated martial arts in his fight style, and like the Duel of Fates, that battle between the 3 of them, like the choreography for that fight is incredible. Like still to this day, that's some of the best fight choreography in any movie ever. Like, the emotion, the storytelling, it's like, yeah, exceptional. Exceptional.
Right, and I had a debate with another friend of mine, and he was like, Phantom Menace is the worst one. And I was like, maybe storyline-wise, but it literally had the most iconic fight scene and the best music of all of Star Wars. So it cannot be
like,
the worst.
how could you rate the Attack of the Clones over the Phantom Menace?
Oh, I can explain that in one word. First of all, I'll agree on the music. Nothing beats Duel of the Fates. Nothing.
Yeah.
However, Yoda wielding a lightsaber.
Yes. And I'll say this about the Attack of the Clones, because I rate the Attack of the Clones very low. The last 35 minutes of the Attack of the Clones, basically from the time that Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme get captured, this becomes an amazing Star Wars movie. Like, they get captured, all the Jedis come out and fight. Mace Windu absolutely humiliates Jango Fett, and then that was the second moment. The Yoda scene as a kid was the second moment where I was like, so this is what it would be like if Mr. Miyagi actually fought somebody in a real fight in a tournament, as if Yoda came out and did this. I was like, this is mind-boggling.
I don't have any problems with the prequels, the sequels. It's when we get into the J.J. Abrams saga that I'm a little about.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I wasn't a fan of like, my least favorite Star Wars movie of all time is The Last Jedi.
Really?
And again, I'm sure people have argued and debated this ad nauseum at this point, and it's one of those situations where I'm like, for a kid, if this is what got you into Star Wars, I'm super happy, because to be allowed Star Wars to continue generation to generation is fantastic, and if you absolutely love it, that's great. For me, not a fan. The Mandalorian was incredible. And I really like Solo. I think Solo is a very underrated Star Wars film.
Oh crap! I'm wearing a Yoda shirt right now. Actually, I completely forgot.
And Rogue One has the greatest Star Wars scene ever, the Vader hallway scene. So
I would argue it as 2 of the best with Donnie Yen and whenever he steps out to fight, and I think the most hilarious line I think ever uttered in a Star Wars movie. Are you kidding me? I'm blind.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for you. Would it have been not more cooler if he was just a Jedi, Donnie Yen?
He kind of was in a sense.
He was, but his character shows that it maybe it opens up pathways that maybe it's not just the Jedi or Sith who are Force sensitive, which I think is
Yes.
which is why it's set up in that way.
Yeah, because like again, now this is going into hypotheticals. Like me and a few other people have talked, and we were like, imagine if the scenario was he was from the Jedi Order, but he had been exiled from not exiled from Jedi Order, but obviously because of what happened with Order 66, he had gone into hiding, and he had decided that he was not going to use a lightsaber anymore because of what had happened with the turn of. At that point, they don't know who had turned to the dark side, but somebody had turned and caused the Jedi issues, and then. In the fight on the planet in Rogue One, it was like he had never used his lightsaber. He hadn't used his lightsaber since the Clone Wars. And then when him and his friend and everybody was about to die, was the first time that he had whipped out his lightsaber since the Clone Wars. And then you got basically saw Donnie Yen using a Wing Chun with a lightsaber on that planet as his last stand. And then he gets absolutely decimated by Darth Vader. That's a hypothetical that me and my friends had come up with talking about this.
Given the fact that you mentioned that, I think Chimrat Imwe is the hero equivalent to Cad Bane.
Okay, interesting. I've never heard it said about that before.
Cad Bane's not a Sith Lord, but he's got something in his throat to prevent him from ever being force choked. Taking that he knows how to combat the Jedi without actually ever having practiced Jedi power. So it's very interesting. We could go through this all night.
Yeah. So I have a question that just came up now. So do you think it would have been more beneficial or more interesting if they had an opportunity to show him do that in the film?
Rogue One is just perfect to me. I had no issues with that movie whatsoever. I don't know if having a Jedi in that movie would have worked because we're at a time where the Empire is in full control and there is really no hope in the universe. And just getting those plans was the spark of hope that made A New Hope a thing. So having a Jedi there would make me feel like, there's a better chance, even though he would have no chance against Darth Vader. But it would have been a cool visual for sure.
Yeah. Yes, and I guess it's it. Like I think like that is the thing that is the most interesting about Rogue One is that like it literally is the catalyst to them being able to stop the Empire, and it's interesting that nobody was Force sensitive to help them do it.
Right, and that's exactly my point. Is nobody. He was the only one that really believed in the Force, and we had that incredible moment where he literally walked through a battlefield, praying to the Force to get to where he needed to be, and that was worth everything.
Yeah.
What about you, Scooter?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Scooter?
I think I've exhausted all the.
No, I mean, what are your thoughts on if he was a Jedi?
If Chirrut Imwe was a Jedi, it's a very interesting concept. I mean, You know, it's Rogue One really serves as the proof that it almost proves Mark Hamill's reasoning for ending the Jedi, for Luke's reasoning for ending the Jedi in Last Jedi, that you know that the Jedi aren't necessarily don't do the fair thing or the unfair thing. They just try to do the right thing. The fact that there are no Jedi in Rogue One is really what makes it feel like a true connection from episode 3 to 4. In fact, I refer to Rogue One as episode 3.5.
I agree with that.
Yes.
They've never really elaborated on somebody being that force sensitive and being unable to and not using a lightsaber.
That's not true.
So
In Rebels, there was a character that was just force sensitive, and he didn't sway to the Jedi or the Sith. He was just force sensitive.
now,
See, no. Oh, sorry. Not to cut you off, but like, is that we're really getting to it now? Is that essentially what Qui-Gon was trying to, tell the Jedi Order, and is what kind of is like the catalyst for all of these events? Is like the Jedi isn't all just about lightsabers and warfare, and that's kind of like what his whole, especially when you like watch the Clone Wars and like kind of see what his like philosophy about the Jedi Order was, is that like it doesn't necessarily have to be like the Jedi Order were all set in that way because of and that was their downfall, is the fact that they had basically become a pseudo military without even realizing that they had become a pseudo military. Like, even though they essentially tried to train like Buddhists, they were going to wars, they were going and fighting and doing negotiations on the behalf of the Republic, and not everything, even though they were trying to be as morally correct as possible, not everything followed what would, like, everything was to serve the Republic as opposed to serve the greater good of the universe. And it's like the idea of a person that was a Jedi, especially after the Jedi Order had crumbled, it's like this is what makes a Jedi so much more. And again, I guess I think that's like where I have some issues with like the new sequel movies, like Luke Skywalker. Like, the reason why Luke Skywalker was such a powerful Jedi and his beauty is that like even down like when Obi-Wan and Yoda were like, I don't think he's going to be able to beat Darth Sidious because he's going to be corrupted to the dark side, because his main focus is to try and save his father, when it's like his father's already, like, he's gone too far. And it's like that's what made Luke better than the Jedi, was the fact of like, it's not about doing everything right or wrong, it's about what is best for the universe. It's like, I can like, we as people want to be able to help as many people as we can. Now, sometimes having love and other things, how do I explain this? Like having, like love for people and other things can cause us to do silly things and emotions, but
Anakin.
without accepting our emotions, we can't, like, if we had to completely ignore our emotions, that's ignoring a part of ourselves rather than facing it. And I feel like Luke was able to face it, and that is like what the true Jedi was. So the ability, like, even down to the very end, Yoda and Obi-Wan were still holding on to that like one-track mind of what a Jedi could be, and that's why they weren't successful in their attempt. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Totally understand. And I don't think I've ever heard that explanation before, which is quite interesting. Because I always thought Luke was more of the chosen one to bring back the chosen one. Because at the end of the day, Darth Vader was the one that killed Sidious and brought peace back to the universe. Until, Rise of Skywalker and J.J. Abrams fucked all that up.
but like again, like I still think the prophecy was true. Like Luke to me wasn't the chosen one. He was the product of everything ending. Like Anakin is still the chosen one. He did it. He brought balance to the Force. But the only way he could bring balance to the Force was to go through everything. So the galaxy had to go through the highs of the Jedi, and it had to go through the lows of the Sith. And when you look at it equally, he was half his life he was essentially on the light side, and then the last half of his life he was on the dark side. And then the product of everything was Luke, who basically embodied everything that you would want as a Jedi. And it's like, again, with Luke's negative emotions, because like they showed it in Return of the Jedi when he came out the cave and he was kind of and then even when he fought Darth Vader and he used the dark side to knock him down, it's like you can't sit there and just strip and be like, there's no dark side in you, right? Like everybody gets angry, everybody has emotions. And like I said, Luke was the first Jedi, and like I said, he's the product of everything the Jedi Order wasn't. That was like, it's not bad to have these angers and emotions. You just have to be able to accept them and manage them. And it's like, again, like going back to the Duel of Fates, it's so amazing because it's like, I think Qui-Gon already knew this, but Qui-Gon isn't a physical Jedi like Anakin Skywalker is. So if he had defeated Darth Maul, I think Qui-Gon would have been able to explain this to Anakin, and that's why that was the Duel of Fates, because it was like, if Qui-Gon survived, Anakin never would have went to the dark side, because Qui-Gon would have understood what Anakin Skywalker was as a person, which he already did. With Qui-Gon gone, even though Obi-Wan loved him and like a brother and like a friend, nobody understood him because they still were one-tracked mind with how the Jedi Order was. And that was what allowed a guy like Sidious to be able to manipulate and get into his mind, and then we went through the whole saga. There's, again, another interesting perspective on Star Wars.
But then you have this perspective of Count Dooku that Qui-Gon would have turned to the dark side and followed him because of what the Jedi were doing, which may.
But that's the thing. Qui-Gon wouldn't have
to side with him as well. But that's way too far into the rabbit hole.
Well, yeah, that's where I assumed Last Jedi was leading us towards a new order of Jedi where you didn't have to close off yourself from personal connection. I mean, that still might be the case due to the fact that Rey is now a Sentinel with the yellow lightsaber, but going and I'm bringing this back to Chirrut Imwe. There's one thing people are forgetting in it. Star Wars fans, most Star Wars fans hate this concept, and they've tried to sweep it under the rug, but Chirrut Imwe was, I believe, a master of Teras Kasi.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Which is Star Wars martial arts, essentially, and is it's almost how you can group in Force-sensitive people who don't go the path of the Jedi.
Yes, I agree with that. Like, again, like, it's like when you like look back with like in like the Darth Bane era, and you know like people, there was Sith assassins and different versions of the Sith. Like, not everybody was a Dark Lord of the Sith that was using lightning and lightsabers, but again, different levels of Force sensitivity. It's just that they did different things. So like, I 100% agree with that.
All right.
All right.
This is a wrestling podcast. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's get into one last wrestling, well, maybe two more wrestling questions. you were immortalized in WWE 2K22. Can you tell us about what that meant to you, especially as a gamer?
That was awesome. I mean, like, the fact that somebody took the time to sit there and create you and then you were on community creations and see people have downloaded it and people are using your character, like, again, like that's a dream, another dream for anybody who's a wrestler is to appear in a video game. Like, I mean, it just in general, like I said, like I'd even be if they just had my face on a picture of a random grunt that got beat up by Batman, I'd be happy to just say I was in a video game. So the fact that somebody's created you is the coolest thing, and it's like, yeah, huge goal is to one day be in a wrestling video game.
Alright. And to a controversial subject, pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
I don't like pineapples in general, so it's not too controversial for me because I don't like pineapples. But if you like pineapples on pizza, that's fine. Like my brother likes pineapple on pizzas, so I don't think it's like the grossest thing in the world. Just not for me.
Alright. What's your spirit Pokemon?
Oh my goodness gracious. Oh man. Realistically, I'm probably a Machamp. I'd probably come up and say something pretty cool, but then I realistically sit there and I'm like, I lift weights all the time and wrestle and are very sporty and jockish. So I'm like, you know what? I'm probably a Machamp, even though I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to be Tyranitar or like Salamence or something, but like, no, I'm probably Machamp, and even like that because I'm like my height, I'm probably Primate. So that would just be realistic.
It's not about which one you think you are. It's what one do you identify the most as. The one that you feel like.
Like, if this was Harry Potter and you casted a Patronus charm, what Pokemon would pop out? Basically.
Oh man, just because of that answer I made, probably Psyduck. I'd sit there and like come up with all of this, and then some random thing would come out, and I'd be like, "Well then, I guess this is it. This is what I got to deal with." So, or Wobbuffet or something like that, you know, like.
Psyduck.
Yeah. Woo. Like for sentimental value, I'd want it to be Houndoom because my puppy that I had for 14 years, she passed away in 2020, was a Collie Rottweiler, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to get Pokemon in an emulator so I could start off Pokemon Gold and Silver with Houndour. So I would like to believe that would be what would come out, would be her as in Houndoom form.
I'm sorry, just because I get migraines. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Weirdest question you ever be asked on a wrestling podcast. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, Scooter.
Not the country.
An actual rock.
I mean, if I go viral and the match is really good, hey, why not?
I think you know what we're talking about. A certain Canadian wrestler named Psycho Michael.
Yes, yeah, I've met him a few times. Interesting guy.
He wrestled an actual rock on a Backyard Pro for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match, an Iron Man match that lasted for 2 weeks.
You want to talk about a guy that's innovative? Psycho Mike is innovative. Like, I couldn't even imagine coming up with the stuff that he comes up with. Like, yeah. He's a special type of wrestler, that guy.
We love Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know?
Yes.
Do you know the acronym for Doug? THUG.
No, I do not. You guys are gonna have to go on with that one for me.
And it's hell. Just remember it's hell.
I was gonna do it right, but now go fuck yourself, James. T is for terrible. H is for hell. U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a thug can't spell.
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as you started, I was like, oh, yes, I know where this is going.
You popped when I said Tracy. Did you know Tracy Smothers?
I never got to meet him, but I have a friend named Davey O'Doyle, who's a wrestler as well, and big territory guy. And watching Tracy Smothers work, and then again hearing all the good stories about him and all the nice things everybody has to say, it's like, how could you not pop for Tracy Smothers? Like,
Oh yeah,
what an incredible worker, what an incredible person. Like, yeah, great stuff.
absolutely. It is now again time for that segment. Shaun Moore's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes in and out of the roles and weird, crazy, and bizarre things sometimes happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Ooh, bizarre road story. Try to think of a good, entertaining one. I was driving, so I was working the ROH War of the Worlds tour, and it was day 3, and I was driving from, I want to say Michigan to Chicago, and it's just me in the car. I had been working nonstop, like setting up the ring, doing the extra work, wrestling when I could. So I'm like tired, and I'm driving. And at one point, I look in the car next to me, and there's 2 guys in the car, and they are fast asleep. And the car is driving straight, and they are like perfectly driving about like 70 miles per hour. And I looked, and I like double checked, and I honked my horn, and they didn't wake up. And they just kept driving. And then I went over the speed limit to make sure I wasn't with them around. They crashed. But it was one of the strangest things I've ever seen, because like you would think the car would be swerving with 2 people asleep in the car. Somehow, and Tesla wasn't a thing at that point, somehow they were driving and it was just going straight. That was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen whilst I was on a wrestling road trip.
That is definitely bizarre, to say the least.
Cruise control.
And unsafe. Please don't do that, people.
Yes, absolutely. Do not do that. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Signed to a wrestling promotion and making good money. I set a goal for myself that before I turned 30, I was going to sign a professional wrestling contract. And I was able to sign a contract and be at the New Japan Dojo and sign with New Japan. And unfortunately, that didn't work out, but I achieved that goal and signed that contract before 30. And then I made a deal with myself before I turned 30 that 1 year in my 30s, between 30 and 40, I'm going to make $1 million in professional wrestling. So that means I have to be signed somewhere. And if I'm not signed somewhere and I made $1 million that year, that means I am doing exceptionally well. And I'm probably somewhere on the Pro Wrestling Tee's highest selling list. So that means everything's going very well. So, yes. So I'm like, I definitely want to, and I envision myself every day in a major wrestling promotion being able to show up branded pro wrestling within the next 5 years.
That is an awesome answer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Shaun Moore is all about?
Ooh. I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm very hard on myself. I never rate my own matches very highly, because I'm always like, there's something I could improve on them. There was a match I had. It's outdated now. Like, I'm a completely different wrestler and a lot younger, but I wrestled a guy named Mark Wheeler for Superkicked in 2017.
Yeah.
And I always attribute that match as like, and that training with Chris Chambers and Ashley Sticks and at Superkicked is what that gave me confidence. Like, I kind of had lost a little bit of confidence wrestling-wise before that, and then training with them and wrestling Mark Wheeler and that experience in Toronto, that was the first time I was like, I can do this. Like, I can get this done. I would say watch the entire tournament I had at the Clandestine Society, leading up to the Clandestine Championship when I wrestled Mo Jabari. Because that really gets to show you what I'm like intense-wise. And then I wrestled a match for Superkick just recently against Stratosphere. Again, if you've never heard of Stratosphere, follow him. Great guy, great match. It's really been able to show kind of like what I bring to the ring with hybrid styles. And then I have a highlight package on my page, which has me doing some stuff in Lucha Libre and other things like that. So I would say maybe those two matches, and definitely the clandestine tournament I had with leading up with against Heavy Metal, Zoe Sager, and Mo Jabari. They had three completely different matches, three completely different wrestlers. Again, like wrestling Zoe is a completely different experience, and they were all, Heavy Metal, Zoe Sager, Mo Jabari, fantastic people. Follow them as well. Great matches.
And is that on YouTube? Where can we find that?
Yes, all on YouTube.
Okay.
Every single one of those are on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. I will put those matches in the link in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. If they haven't already seen those matches, they could go check them out after this.
And then eventually, when I face Jonathan Gresham, that will be the match I'll tell people to go watch.
Interesting.
Yes.
All right. Now, since we're nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh gosh. Oh man, that's a really hard question. That's not a speed question. Oh my goodness. This may change, but Bret, Eddie, and Kurt Angle.
Okay.
you can't just say one. There's so much to a pro wrestler that it's like each person has different aspects and benefits. That's my 3. I can't pick one. Next question.
Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler. Oh boy. Oh, see, man, these should be speed questions. Worst wrestler. This is going to be a cop-out, but there is somebody somewhere on an independent show impersonating a wrestler from the 80s still that's probably not very good at pro wrestling, and it's probably them.
Okay, interesting. You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
John Cena, because I'm making the most amount of money that night. I did not like John Cena growing up, but becoming a pro wrestler, I've absolutely turned to respect what he can do as an entertainer. And for me, that matchup would be like, literally, this is the guy I disliked my entire childhood, and now I'm main eventing against him at WrestleMania for the World Championship. You can't write that.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
NWO Wolfpack.
Ooh, good one. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Needed.
We also would have accepted is quite good on toast.
Good one.
Squash. Fruit or vegetable?
Oh, vegetable.
It's a fruit.
Yeah, I know it's a fruit, but I'm gonna say it's a vegetable.
Oh, so it's technically a fruit, but you eat it as a vegetable.
Yes, yes, yes.
Huh? Well, you're in good graces with Coleco Yachts now, and a part of Squawk, and that means a hell of a lot more. New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question: what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
um, the answer is universal. It depends on how good you look. Like, nobody's complaining at Finn Balor for having small trunks, but if everyone was complaining at Rikishi for having small trunks, so apples to oranges.
Fair enough. And the main event, the last question, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No, I can't say I have.
And that is the correct answer.
Now, what would have happened if I would have sat there and said, "Actually, I was in a supermarket in Mexico, and it was the first time I spoke fluent Spanish, and we had a long conversation about Darby Allin in the supermarket."
First, you would have to tell us what was the content of that conversation, and then I would say that is the correct answer. That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with us.
Oh no, thank you guys. It was very fun.
Thank you.
Once again, can you tell us where we can find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Shaun and Fit. You can follow me on Twitter at Shaun_Moore3, and you can follow me on TikTok at Shaun Moore Wrestler. Like me on Facebook, as well as type in Shaun Moore and subscribe on my page on YouTube. Like, comment. It's good for the algorithm. Yeah.
And of course, when you get merchandise, once again, we will put that in the description of the video below. But on YouTube and Castbox, all of those links will be in the description. No need to throw it into your Google machine. Simply click the link. You will be there. Give him a follow. And when he gets merchandise, buy a damn shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. Join us next week as we interview Zoe Sager. Upcoming weeks, Mike Gamble, Anna Diaz, and Taryn from Accounting. Join us and obviously follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling with E for all the latest news and information on interviews, upcoming links, etc., etc. You can follow me at JamesJ993 on Twitter. You can follow Kaliko at I am Kaliko. And where can they find Scooter?
As always, find me on Twitter at ScooterDust. Find the remix on YouTube, hosted by James and myself, a premium audio companion experience, giving you alternate commentary for every WWE pay-per-view throughout the year. Next time we come to you is Hell in a Cell, June 5th. And, of course, find me in all my Twitch antics, specifically along with Rico Constantino Jr. and the rest of the Smoking Dragons clan, twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
Now, Sean, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
For our very special guest, Shaun Moore, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling Wit.
Entertainment.
Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.